We are live. Good evening, everyone. It is June 9th, 8 p.m. EST. I am Miriam Hinane, investigative journalist, best known for directing the film Vanishing of Me. And I'm joined today by David Sumrall, who is the founder of StopHate.com. He's a Christian, he's a carpenter, and he is helping write history and set the record straight in regards to the journalistic battle regarding January 6th. Welcome, David.
Hey, it's good to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for spending this evening with me. I didn't initially know that I was going to time it with this hearing that is starting. So at one point we will be going to the live hearing and commenting. I just want to share with you and the audience why I am interested in this story that is really threatening our democracy, although the other side, the left, says that we are the ones who are threatening democracy when we showed up that day. So I was there, as many of my colleagues and thousands of people. Joe Biden can only wish to have a fraction of the people that showed up. And the vibe was very peaceful. It was very, very cold. And many of us captured a lot of footage, and I took part in a live action role play. I went ahead and I did a 5 or 6 part series for Activist Post in regards to what is now being dubbed the deadly insurrection. And so when I connected with you, David, I didn't know this hearing was starting tonight, so it's fortuitous. If you can please introduce yourself and share about how this project came about and anything you'd like to say.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, yeah, David Sumrall, StopHate.com. I started Stop Hate back in 1992 during the LA riots. That was kind of the first George Floyd style situation we had with seeing a piece of a film that looked really bad on the cops, and the mayhem that followed the riots, and also the LA riots. Or when I started Stop Hate, I saw what the media did. And, over the last few years of the demand free speech rallies, trying to tell people about censorship and deplatforming and debanking. And, it was more than just social media. And then we did the Stop the Steal rallies in Austin, Texas. I led those for, 7 weeks or something. Did a big one in Dallas too. And, then January 6th came around and I said, I'm not going. I'm tired. I'm broke. I'm spent. And y'all go. Have a good time. And there had been 2 other rallies in DC. I didn't make either one of those because I was doing all the Austin stuff, trying to get speakers. So, God put it on my heart, and my friends kept bugging me. My wife even said, go. And we had a house full of sick people and a new puppy. And she said, you just go. So we went and took a film crew, friends of mine that helped do this citizen journalism stuff. And we captured a lot of things that day on film that people until now still by and far don't know about. And over the next few days, I think they're going to learn more and more about some of the details. So we make a film, and I told the crew, I said, man, we've got some really good stuff, but we just couldn't afford to, make a whole production and time and money, resources. It's just the way it is. And so I put it on the shelf for a minute and said, it's on my heart to do that. A friend of mine said, my friends at the Red Pill Expo want you to speak to them. So I talked to them. They had me do a presentation, and they wanted me to show some film. So I thought, well, I'll just compile, a lot of this film in a 37-minute, short film, because I had a 45-minute speaking window and I didn't really want to speak. I just, hi, I'm David, push play. Here's the film. Thank y'all very much at the end, and go sit back down. But they said, you can't show this here. It's too violent, has too much language. We really captured what happened that day. And it's a chronological video. It stays in the timeline. It shows the murders that happened. It shows the police brutality. It shows that the people were, by far the most peaceful part of the day, and that the police attacked them first, and that people died as a result of that. And we've been trying to show people that ever since. And It is what it is. The censorship, the deplatforming, all those things are real and play into this. But we're seeing the whole thing from the fact that they say there was no fraud. If there was any fraud, we had the right to picket and protest in the first place. And they're trying to put people in harm's way for picketing and protesting, waving flags and banners. But that's well within our rights. So we're just seeing due process thrown, away. They're going in people's homes and arresting them. They're really abducting them and stealing
Right.
their property and holding their families, excising people all over the country, and just have free reign to do that. And that's why, it's that much more important for people to pay attention to what's going on tonight with these hearings and see the fairy tale they're trying to push on us, because it's going to be up to us to really stop it.
Yeah, it's not really a fairy tale. I'd like to share with you a little bit about my experience because I ended up showing and sharing my footage with Rudy Giuliani. And so I didn't expect that. The next day I was in a hotel room at the Willard. So I was looking for Zach Voorhees, the Google whistleblower. He was going to give a talk, and that was about a mile point two from the Capitol, and that was postponed. And so I walked back and forth about, maybe I walked 6 miles looking for Zach, and I had been told not to be alone that day. And then as a journalist, I wanted to get into the action. As I was walking, I was had the luck to be in the VIP section, feet behind Trump. I wanted to just kind of get an energetic scan on him, and I was blown away by all the people and the vibe. I'm just getting chills right now. And then I started walking, and I said, where are you going? And I was listening to the hearing, and people said Pence is a traitor. Pence is a traitor. And I'm like, Pence hasn't even, he's not even up yet. Where did that come from? And maybe you can comment on that. I think there was like a 2.5-page letter, but supposedly somehow the rumors started and people were walking toward there. When I got close, when I finally stayed there, one tear gas had happened, and then I left. I was more scared of getting smushed, and it was very cold despite my heated vest. And I was scanning people to try to find a man to say, can you protect me? Can you keep my back? I don't know exactly what I was looking for, but as I was looking at the people, I was like, who are these people? They don't feel like patriots to me. Very close near the scaffolding which perfectly became like monkey bars to climb and cause more havoc. And so I found someone, it ended up being Jason Funes, and we went in, and his camera ran out of memory. So he asked me to film him. And as before that happened, I was scanning, and there was that woman with the pink hat, and I was like, how did this chick get a bullhorn? What is she doing? Then I scanned, and I saw green. So that to me stood out because, and then later Millie Weaver noted on the orange, but I saw like green backpack, green cap, and in my head I heard like as a casting call, wear this and this and this. So then there was a dude beside me, and we were saying stop the violence. At this point we were yelling stop the violence, and I asked the guy, what do you think's being accomplished here? And he's like, oh, we gotta clear out the swamp people. And so it seemed like he was just repeating a line. And I literally said, do you think this is like an episode of Game of Thrones? Like what is going to happen from this violence? In any case, then we got tear gassed again. And then only, of course, later did we learn about Ashley Babbitt. And then that night, as you likely recall, there was a curfew. So we were held prisoners in our hotels, many of us. So I just wanted to share that with you and the audience. Maybe you can talk about your experience of the beginnings of like, something's not right here. Like, who put up this guillotine?
Yeah, that was really a work of art. literally wasn't. I mean, it said at the bottom, on the bottom of the guillotine or the noose, it was a hangman's thing. It said, "This is art" at the bottom. It was literally a art. It's an expression, but MSM can take that and blow it up into something bad. So we went down to the ellipse, like everybody else, trying to see the president, trying to get a video, trying to maneuver that crowd. That crowd was amazingly large. There's no way to count that high. There's that many people, and so halfway through the speech, we had never gotten to a position where we could even see him, up close. He was around the corner, and we were trying to get a block from the wind, and we were standing, trying to warm up a little bit. I think a couple of people were buying hot dogs and such, but we were watching on YouTube, trying to get a signal, and it was in and out, and nobody could really. So we thought, well, we'll just go on down. He'd already said we're going to march peacefully down, and we were gone. So we went down to get a better vantage point. And when I came into the circle there, I was literally filming Ray Epps as we walked into the circle. I mean, we were there before the first barricade went down. And second barricade is where the 5 police officers were, standing up on that little sidewalk, and that's everybody thinks that's the first barricade. That was the second one. But
Okay.
shortly after that, it was the most peaceful push I've ever seen, and we stood still like Simba and all those wild wildebeest or whatever, and just hanging on. People were just going around us, going in, and we were watching. I was thinking, this is a setup, guys. Be very careful. See the people on top of the Capitol, and see, there's more
Right.
going on here. And it seems like a setup. And so as everyone went in and we stood back, we're watching just thousands of people pour through. And then you'll see in these videos, I mean, everyone made it up to the edge of the Capitol, and they weren't fighting, they weren't pushing, they weren't shoving, they weren't screaming, they weren't doing anything but holding their bullhorns up saying, "We're here to redress our government. We have grievances about the election." All this stuff sounded really, patriotic and all. And that's when the police literally threw hand grenades into the crowd. Benjamin Phillips and Kevin Greason. And, we broke that story long time ago. Our documentary came out June 4th of last year. And,
Wow.
the censorship issues, everything, nobody can see the
I,
truth.
I want to bring up the death story, Dylan. If you go to stophate.com, and David, you can say, because that is a very interesting article to talk about the
Yeah,
death.
go to
It's
home there, and then just scroll up. You'll see 5 people in the picture. You keep going. It's like the 5th one. There it is right there. Right in the middle. And you've
second
got
row.
Kevin Greason, Benjamin Phillips, Roseanne Boylan, Ashley Babbitt, and Officer Brian Sicknick. And all 5 of those deaths are at the hand of Capitol Police or Metro Police, even Officer Sicknick. And we have witnesses. It's all in that story. I suggest there's print, video. It's like a gateway story. It's a long article, but it's got all the proof and
It's a
evidence
great
of
article.
deaths.
I
Yeah.
want to say for people watching, thank you. And if we get cut here on YouTube because they love me and
Mhm.
the topic, then please come to Rumble. I'm also on Rockfin. Someone the other day said, "Ma'am, you're really good. You should have a show." I do have a show. I
That's
do a
awesome.
lot.
That's awesome.
But if you don't know where to find me, um, I want to also note to you, David, that I saw early on before I penetrated where the tear gas was,
Mhm.
that I saw a Waldo. And I was,
Yes.
really, where's Waldo? Where's the FBI? Where's
Uh-huh.
Antifa? It was very kind of tongue in cheek. It's like, I'm sorry, but I will venture to say there's no patriot that dressed up like Waldo.
No, no, it was really strange. There were a lot of provocateurs, agents, people that really didn't belong. Antifa. We put a 26-minute video out. As soon as Christopher Wray said, or Garland, one of them said there was no Antifa, we put a 26-minute video from the 6th with nothing but Antifa. And then they talk about the police violence being objectively reasonable. And that's where what were the police doing on January 6th video? Go watch that. It's 4 or 5 minutes of brutality that the MSM won't show you, and nobody knows these stories. And let me just go one step forward real quick. You know, I'm a licensed investigator for Joseph McBride's law firm, and I can look at the 14,000 hours of video. I can see the statements. I can see the body cams. I can see the police bragging to each other about beating on these people. I can see it all. And they say nobody can see that, but literally I'm licensed to look through that footage. And I just got to kind of convey this to people that if you're on the fence about believing these January 6 people, when they say, look, we're innocent, we didn't do anything, these police attacked us. If you're ever able to see the video that I can see, you'll find out these people are not lying to you. And I hope you feel bad for not supporting them if you're not supporting them right now. Everybody needs to pitch in a meal a week to these fundraisers. I mean, at least, you know, $5 a day if you can, whatever it is, and write letters. You know, we were really adamant that people support these people in the letter writing, in the fundraising, in the prayer group. There's a lot of things people can do to support these guys. And I promise you, when they say they're innocent, they're not lying.
I want to go back to the death count because that was very important in framing this as a deadly insurrection. And
Mhm.
and so yeah, so let's go back. I was following Sitnik's waiting for them to send the autopsy.
Mhm.
And of course, Ashley Babbitt, they hid the name of the officer for a really long time. And then we can get into John Sullivan and all the money he made from his footage. And so they're saying how many have died, and they're blaming it on patriots who have threatened or threatening democracy. I know, I'm sure you knew that when that chicken fence, the wiring went up, the barbed wire, I'm like, that's never going to come off ever again, because we are ushering
No.
into the minority report police state that they want, and we're living in a very Hegelian existence where we create problems and then a supposed solution. So yeah, let's go back to the deaths, to Sicknick and Ashley Babbitt, and how they use this against the people when they're the ones who are guilty of
Well,
violence.
let's do it like this. Let's just look and say that, you know, we know there was the question of product liability issues. We didn't believe Dominion did the right job. Now, whether it was on purpose or not, we didn't believe it was done right. So there were product issues. You can call it fraud. That's harder to prove. But these were the election auditors, the original guys that went to say, hey, there's something wrong. We want the 10 more days. We want the states to take it. We're doing the right thing. We're here to protest. We're not here to fight. They were attacked. So chronologically, when we look at that, when everyone was peaceful and they threw the grenades and killed the first two guys, Benjamin Phillips and Kevin Greason, those are the two people that this government and the media said died of natural causes. They had a heart attack or a stroke and they just died. It was misfortunate, you know, thing or whatever. And that's just as blatant a lie as you can. We saw the same thing with Roseanne Boylan. They tried to say she died of an acute methamphetamine overdose, that she had a drug overdose and died at a Trump rally. Now here's the rub. Everybody listened and said, okay, two guys had heart attacks or strokes and one girl had an overdose. Gosh, that's terrible. Let's move on. Nobody said, wait a minute, that sounds like crap. That is a lot. How many people had heart attacks at Trump events, and how many people do drugs at a Trump event, especially to overdose? Come on. So those two things, Ashley Babbitt, we saw her get executed, and Taylor Hanson, that was next to her when she died, he stayed on that and stayed on that and stayed on that. And we helped him break the Michael Leroy Bird name of the officer. They tried to say it was Bailey. They led everybody on a goose chase. We got his bracelet, his hands. We saw him in other pictures in the chamber, narrowed it down, looked through the register. It was done. And even Tom Fitton, I watched his thing today, and he said, oh, Michael Leroy Bird voluntarily came out. No, I was talking to a high official, we'll call it, and I said, look, I'm about to break the name. And they said, they will sue you. He's been exonerated. They're calling him a hero. Don't say his name or you'll get sued. And I said, that's the only proof I need. That's his name then. Publish. And that's the way we need to do this. I mean, if you're going to sue me for the truth, there's a whole documentary there's all these death stories. We got Benjamin, we've got Kevin that died from flashbang grenades, concussion grenades. Their heart stopped. We've got witnesses. We've got the video of them getting CPR, being pulled out of the crowd. So that's blatant, and that's just documented. And then Roseanne, of course, we've got the witnesses. We've got Jake Lang sitting in jail right now that pulled Philip Anderson out of the pile, that was trying to help Tommy Tatum, that was trying to get to Roseanne to help her. We've got a family of a husband and 3 sons that were there as well, trying to block the spray from the police to try to give her CPR. They weren't fighting. They were trying to protect someone that was down that needed help. And these people are all being charged with this deadly insurrection. Well, I'll tell you, they say it was worse than 9/11 and worse than Pearl Harbor. I agree 100%, because our own government did this stuff to us and then lied about it. The very protesters that went to peacefully protest were attacked and murdered and then blamed, set up in this big orchestrated lie. Look, Officer Sicknick at 3:00, Rod Taylor, our first witness that I found, took Officer Sicknick to the police and said, "This man needs medical help." They said, "Okay, we'll get him medical. I think he's having a stroke. Something's wrong with him. His eyes, he's not here." You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things. The second witness at 8:30 said, "I'm a medic. I recognize the guy's name. Chris Alberts." Said, "I recognize his name. Let me treat him." They said, "Mind your own business." An hour and a half later, Sicknick collapsed from his stroke. The EMS tried to do CPR on him. He wasn't dead, but they're over there giving him CPR. That's really bad for you in the first place. But he had a stroke, and for 7.5 or more hours, they forced him to suffer until he collapsed. They didn't get him stroke treatment. They probably could have. So that's negligent homicide. And then they craft this big story that we killed him with a fire extinguisher and let that run for months, thinking that people were violent enough to kill. So they started the whole impeachment hearing,
Right.
because Trump had a big thing and it led to the death of an officer. This all lies, every bit of it.
Right. Okay, I have a couple of comments. People who are watching, please just keep in mind the Rumble link, and that is where I post most channels. I'm not really here much due to the censorship. I want to touch upon the purpose of foiling the electoral votes, because people don't often note what would have happened if this interruption didn't occur, because things resumed and I think ended like at 2 or 3 in the morning, and there was going to be, and I have the details in my article, but I forget at this moment, but it was going to be a certain outcome and certain people bailed. Obviously there was pressure. We're living in an environment now where you are bullied and coerced to, for instance, look at Brandon Straka. He took the deal. He was scared shitless, and he admitted to something that he didn't want to do. I think it's similar with Enrique, who is arguably working with the feds, and they said, we're going to bring up all these charges. I don't think the guy was even there. So please correct me if I'm wrong, but let's touch upon the fact that there's a purpose to what was foiled, what would have maybe unraveled.
Well, I mean, the fraud, is that what you're saying? I mean, the fact that it
They
was,
were counting the electoral vote, so there were
yeah.
people who were going to stand up and
Oh yeah.
challenge.
Oh yeah. There was the whole Sidney Powell angle. There were people going to the Supreme Court at that moment. I mean, they knew something was happening. There's even talk that there was a communication that France had been apprehended, basically. I think it was France, that their satellite was influencing votes. I mean, that they had pinpointed all these things, and that Georgia election after that was to gather more information more than have an election. It's just crazy stuff. But I think another thing people don't understand is,
Sorry, I
there.
want to say, maybe, sorry, David, maybe we can just clue in, go to the live, Dylan,
Yeah.
so that we can have it ready in case people are wondering what's going on. I'm sorry, I didn't mean
No,
to
you're good.
interrupt you.
You're good.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, if Pence had kicked that back to the states, there was a good chance the states may have installed Biden. There's a good chance, just to keep the peace and to keep us from going to war. That angle, if Pence had said, "Okay, states, take it back. Y'all decide. It's on y'all," they might have said, "Look, we're tired of Trump. We're going to put Biden in there. And then guess what? There's no legal recourse. But if there was fraud, there's no statute of limitations, I guess, on a presidential election. If it's found to be fraudulent, you can overturn it at any point in time,
Really?
from my
Wow.
understanding. So
Know
all
that.
these things play in. Everybody thinks, hey, Pence did the wrong thing. What if he did the right thing? And I'm not saying he's a good guy, bad guy, or anything,
Right.
but we're also the people that were saying he was in the parking garage under the building during this whole thing. And it came up in court in Coy Griffin's court
He was
date. I
who
mean,
was in the garage?
these are
Oh,
the
that
facts that matter. You know what I'm saying?
I want to go back to the garage. Can we just listen to just
Yeah.
tap into, because I do think details are very important.
See what they're saying.
Yeah. Listen to this rhino. Can you hear?
No, you got to mute it or unmute it. Let's see. I can't hear that.
So David, can you, while we wait, can you clarify what go back to the garage?
Yeah, so
Repeat
Mike
that.
Pence, he had been evacuated. Everyone says
Right.
that, that they talked about hanging Pence and all these things, and you can hear us in our documentary. We get to the first gate, and one of my guys said, everybody's already gone out of there. I mean, they've cleared out. Pence is, and I think we even said something about the tunnels. They've already taken them out the tunnels or whatever. Well, sure enough, through a little bit of digging investigation, you find that, yes, Pence had left the building. He was literally in the tunnels underneath, I want to say the Senate building, but anyway, he was not around during the 4 or 5 hours. And, there was a lot of speculation about that, whether or not some of these people could be charged if he wasn't even in the building. And the judge is like, well, he was supposed to be in the building. So I just want to get this over with for now, and pushed the can down the road again. But yeah, that's coming up. That's coming up. There's a lot of things like that that really make a big difference. That, it's the whole cloak and dagger thing, just like the Michael Leroy Bird never really being questioned by the police,
The
or
officer that shot
that
Ash.
shot Ashley. Yeah. I mean, they never thoroughly questioned it. As a matter of fact, he did nothing without an attorney. They were looking at criminal charges, and for some reason that stopped. You see what I'm saying? It's all crooked. And they're glorifying these people.
It's
The lady that killed Lila Morris, maybe not killed, but the lady that hit her the last few times, she may have already been dead from all the CS gas, but she was beating her body with the stick, Lila Morris. And they celebrated her at the Super Bowl as one of the real warriors of the day, and Fanon the liar, and Dunn the liar, and all these people that have blatantly lied in the impeachment hearings. Isn't that a crime? Shouldn't they be in jail? Not according to our current government. And I'm not saying our current Democrats. I'm talking
right.
about our current government, because the Uniparty is working its head off
Yes.
against us, the people, every
Yes.
single day.
And we need to really keep that in mind. This is political theater. This is divide and conquer. I often wonder when Orange Man said, come on down, it's going to be wild.
Yeah.
And now I know, I was listening to commentary earlier that they're going to focus on his silence. Apparently there's some hours of, we don't know where Trump was, and they're going to point to that. But do you have any thoughts about him saying it's going to be wild?
Oh, yeah. I think a lot of people are really mad at that guy right now. He said for everybody to come down. He said we're going to go down and peacefully protest. And he said, I'm going to meet you down there. And then they said, you can't go down there. He said, oh, I'm so disappointed. Like he didn't know. So, I mean, and then we look at his silence after the fact. And hey, I was at Ashley Babbitt's birthday celebration last year when he sent a video. The left went crazy. They couldn't stand the fact that he honored her on her birthday anniversary. And he does good things, but does he do enough? There's so many questions, and people are just like, why didn't he just say, help the J6ers raise money, and then they'd have enough money? Or why didn't he
Right.
say, do something for the J6ers today? Everybody would. He's the leader. Everybody said, well, what do you expect him to do? I expect him to say something. I expect him to do more. And if this is one of those General Flynn style games, and we're the General Flynn's, and he's going to let them just beat us for a while and make it look good or whatever, that's cheap, man. These people are not expendable. There have been 18 deaths 18 deaths associated with January 6th since the fact. We've had 4 suicides that we know of. We have from the police, we have 4
Well,
that we know of.
this was,
from
I
the
just want to ask
Yep.
Dylan, do you think if I share my screen and we play it on my screen, why
For
it's not?
volume.
Well, now it's I don't know if you just stopped it, Dylan.
I didn't do it.
Could work. Hold on.
Let's
Okay.
see, we get it
Well,
going.
I'm just offering
Let's see. Hold on.
Assessment. Had Clark
you
assumed the role of Attorney General. Representative Scott Perry, who was also involved in trying to get Clark appointed as Attorney General, has refused to testify here. As you will see, Representative Perry contacted the White House in the weeks after January 6th to seek a presidential pardon. Multiple other Republican congressmen also sought presidential pardons for their roles in attempting to overturn the 2020 election. In our 4th hearing, we will focus on President Trump's efforts to pressure Vice President Mike Pence to refuse to count electoral votes on January 6th. Vice President Pence has spoken publicly about this.
President Trump is wrong. I had no right to overturn the election. The presidency belongs to the American people and the American people alone. And frankly, there is no idea more un-American than the notion that any one person could choose the American president.
What President Trump demanded that Mike Pence do wasn't just wrong, it was illegal and it was unconstitutional. You will hear this in great detail from the Vice President's former general counsel. Witnesses in these hearings will explain how the former Vice President and his staff informed President Trump over and over again that what he was pressuring Mike Pence to do was illegal. As you will hear, President Trump engaged in a relentless effort to pressure Pence, both in private and in public. You will see the evidence of that pressure from multiple witnesses, live and on video. Vice President Pence demonstrated his loyalty to Donald Trump consistently over 4 years, but he knew that he had a higher duty to the United States Constitution. This is testimony from the Vice President's Chief of Staff.
So I think the Vice President was proud of his 4 years of service, and he felt like much had been accomplished in those 4 years. And I think he was proud to have stood beside the President for all that had been done. But I think he ultimately knew that his fidelity to the Constitution was his first and foremost oath. And that's what he articulated publicly, and I think that that's what he felt.
His fidelity to the Constitution was more important than his fidelity to President Trump and his
The oath he took. Yep.
Yes.
You'll also hear about a lawyer named John Eastman. Mr. Eastman was deeply involved in President Trump's plans. You'll hear from former Fourth Circuit federal judge Michael Ludig, a highly respected leading conservative judge. John Eastman clerked for Judge Ludig. Judge Ludig provided counsel to the Vice President's team in the days before January 6th. The judge will explain how Eastman, quote, was wrong at every turn. And you will see the email exchanges between Eastman and the Vice President's counsel as the violent attack on Congress was underway. Mr. Jacob said this to Mr. Eastman: "Thanks to your bullshit, we are under siege." You will also see evidence that John Eastman did not actually believe the legal position he was taking. In fact, a month before the 2020 election, Eastman took exactly the opposite view on the same legal issues. In the course of the Select Committee's work to obtain information from Mr. Eastman, we have had occasion to present evidence to a federal judge. The judge evaluated the facts, and he reached the conclusion that President Trump's efforts to pressure Vice President Pence to act illegally by refusing to count electoral votes likely violated 2 federal criminal statutes. And the judge also said this: if Dr. Eastman and President Trump's plan had worked, it would have permanently ended the peaceful transition of power, undermining American democracy and the Constitution. If the country does not commit to investigating and pursuing accountability for those responsible, the court fears January 6th will repeat itself.
Let's stop that
Every
right there.
Yeah,
Let's
is
stop
scheduled.
that right there for just a second and think about what she just said. It's going to repeat itself. Does that mean that they're going to kill more innocent Americans if it repeats itself? Because we're seeing a Tiananmen Square invasion by our government. Square people went to protest and they were mowed down by their government and then put in prison and held indefinitely for speaking out against. It's the same thing that we're doing
well,
to our government. We went to say, look, we want to redress our grievances. We were attacked. That lady right there knows that there were 5 deaths at the hands of Capitol and Metro Police. She knows that. She knows who's responsible. And if she doesn't, she's an idiot. She's probably an idiot anyway. But what I'm saying is, how can anyone vote for any of these people knowing that they're complicit with murder of innocent protesters and they're going along with this story? I can't vote for them for taxes. I can't vote for them for roads. I can't vote for them for schools. I can't vote for them and I can't pay them my taxes. They want $34 million more to fight me. I can't support that. What do they? I mean, we had the last tea party over tea because they were taxing our tea. And here they are killing people, holding them indefinitely, destroying families. These people haven't seen their families since they were arrested
right.
some a year and a half ago.
How
They're
many are we talking about? 400? How many?
Oh, there's probably 140 or so in prison right now. There's 800 and some odd that have been charged. They're picking more people up almost every day. It's the shock and awe campaign. They're only going after the high profile people. We're seeing the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, and we have exculpatory evidence for them. We have no plan to do anything, and the FBI is holding that exculpatory evidence. That's illegal as well. There's so much that if the people don't stand up and say, hey, this is wrong, you're not going to do it on my watch, they're going to mow over. The church is next. The veterans are next. All you people with good feelings and all that stuff want to go to your school board and say, I don't like CRT, and then the FBI is banging on your door. Don't think for a minute that we didn't warn you, because that's what we said. We say, y'all are next. Now go and say something against the mandate as a church. Go say something about the mandate and see if you're not put on the same list.
Yeah, and that is the thing. This is a pandemic of cowards.
Yeah.
And it is terrifying when they do come after you. And just folks out there, I'm a veteran 25-year journalist, and I'm having a really hard time. So please, if you support, you could give a tip. I do this for free, and I do this with my heart. And I love being a journalist, but just want to say that they tailor their torture to the person, as we said, I shared with you the other day, and it's very subtle. So if, I'm speaking to a woman who's a doctor who didn't wear a mask, and now they've taken her child away and she has to pay $1,000 a week, or, someone wants to have a voice, so they go after all their social media, or they, you have a family. I don't know if they've come after you or threatened you, but there are people who are languishing in jail that have not had a fair trial or right. I mean, it just so happens that David Sumrall knows Mark Grenon of Genesis Church.
Mm-hmm.
And when we spoke, we didn't know that we share Mark in common. That's but right. He is still in jail. I mean, he's in Colombia, but his sons are languishing in jail. It's been 600 plus days. That's right. So don't take away from the hearing, but they are glorifying crooks, and they are putting in jail God-loving, good human beings.
Well, there's a pattern too, and we're not supposed to see this pattern, but it's the same players all around the world. Look, it's the same medical community. It's the same government here in the United States. It's the same world organizations that got Mark Grenon in Colombia and got his sons in America. And that's what happens when they go to silence somebody completely and remove them. And for over 2 years, these guys have been sitting in jail longer than our January 6ers. And these are pre-trial detainees. They've never been sentenced to a crime. They've never been found guilty. This is pre-trial. And listen, did you see the guy get arrested today? Kelly from Michigan that's running for governor. He got arrested. Yeah. They said, okay, wait. He's been running around on the streets for a year and a half, and they're going to call him a flight risk or a danger to society. Why they leave him out for a year and a half? They say they got 2,000 to 3,000 more arrests. Where are those people? Did they all
Wow.
run? I
Is that
mean,
what they say?
2,000 to 3,000 more arrests coming soon. More shock and awe. You know, we got the midterms, we got the election coming up, we got all this stuff. They got to make their points. So
Because this is also an exercise in surveillance. They stated after the fact that they were able to
Track.
geo track.
Mhm.
So this is also, again, it's all drills, exercises, collecting data, tracking and tracing us to infinity. So this is what it's about. And
Mhm.
they're always like, oh, we're going to sensationalize another headline, another bullshit this.
Yes, but you know what? They were tracking us months before January 6th. This is what Dinesh D'Souza's film 2000 Mules is really helping to prove. So if you think back, there were a couple of people that got arrested like immediately after January 6th, like on the 8th. They were already arresting people in like Arkansas. Well, you know, it's pretty near impossible to take from the 6th on that evening, start your investigation, find some people on social media, go find where they live and go arrest them a day later. But they were doing that. And what they're saying is that they were tracking people for months, all the Stop the Steal rallies, all the people that were, they knew who was going to DC before they left for DC in by far. So we're looking at geo tracking as one of the things that, you know, if the government can use it against us, why can't we borrow that technology and some of that facial recognition software? Because there's people that have not been arrested, have not been indicted, have not been on the list that did horrible things. Micajah Jackson went and accosted a guy in a parking lot, tricked him to come and meet him. He had a gun there that day. He had a gun, was on the list, and they bumped him down, just like Ray Epps. He's high on the list, and for some reason they drop him down. And you're like, what's going on here? I mean, are
What
these
is going on with
working
it?
for you? It's
Yeah, right.
crazy.
So also they poach felons or
Mhm.
whatever types, and then they can use them as to whatever in whatever capacity they want to create shenanigans. And there's something also called the bystander effect.
Yes.
So you are a human, and we know now the sheeple. So you're a human, and there's action happening, and so you follow the action, and then next thing you know, you're inside a building, and now your life is ruined.
Yeah.
Or I
Yeah.
think that's what happened with, let's say, Simone Gold.
Yeah.
She found herself in the building. In regards to Brandon, who's just now started to come out and do the rounds with
Funny.
people who have significant audiences only.
Mhm.
Because I'm saying that because the numbers are all skewered.
Yeah.
They're not real.
No.
They're just to razzle dazzle people. In any case, so he admitted to something that he didn't do. I would find it hard to want to do that myself. However, I'm not going to judge. I don't know if he was scared. I mean, I would assume he was scared.
I'm sure he's scared. He doesn't want to do jail time and stuff. But I'm serious. And look, it's not me. And yes, the FBI has been to my house several times. I lawyered up, tried to get ahead of it. So far, so good. We'll see how it plays out. I don't know, but I can't say that. Yeah, I did something that I didn't do, and I'm sorry. You know, let's go to trial. Let's put this in public. Let's do our thing. And if I have to go to jail for it, but here's the thing. I talked to one person. They're like, you know, I just can't. I can't. I talked to my priest. They said it'd be a mortal sin if I was to lie and take charges for something I didn't do. So I can't do it. I said, then blame your priest. Go take that to court and say, look, my priest said I can't lie for you. What do? I'm in a moral dilemma here, you know, because I didn't do that. I didn't. But for him to do that, you know, and to hide, you know, for that long and be so scared, and you know,
Are you talking about Brandon hiding for so
yeah,
long?
Brandon. You know, I was disappointed in that. So many people need the courage and need somebody to stand up. I'm a leader, and sometimes leaders get taken out, and I think he's too scared, you know, to do that. But and I understand. Like I said, I'm not knocking people for whatever choices they make, but golly, I disagreed with what he did on that, because that just I feel like it's going to damage his brand, you know, in so many ways. And that's hard to come back, because so many people just like you and me sitting here saying, I can't believe he pled to something he didn't do. That just looks bad. And I'm sorry. There had to have been different ways to do that. I know that, you know, we tried to help him as much as we could with evidence. and probably kept him from getting more severe charges, in all honesty. But, I wouldn't have stopped there. I would have said, look, we have all this too. Let's go to court. Let's get this in the public. And, that's a funny thing about Stop Hate. They don't want me in the news, and that's good. I mean, it's kind of a plot armor thing, but at the same time, if you put me in jail, all the documentary, all the stories, all the media that we've done that proves that we found the witnesses, we found the videos, we asked for people to turn stuff into us for the last year and a half, and they have. And that's where these stories come from. Benjamin Phillips, Kevin Greason. We didn't know who Benjamin. Listen, the way the media lies, they said Benjamin Phillips never made it to the event. He was parking the bus somewhere and had a stroke or a heart attack and died. They say he was never part of the riot, right? But he was. I mean, I saw a picture one day of Kevin Greason on a medical stretcher. I said, I thought they carried him out on a barricade. Wait, because we've got the video of the barricade going. Oh, wait.
Right,
Both
right.
kind of red-headed guys, both kind of heavy guys. It came down to his shoes. I got a picture and I said, those are not Kevin's brown shoes. Those are black and red. Hold on. So we went back to Benjamin Phillips' picture by the bus, and there he is with those red and black shoes. So in this year, I finally found out where I've been looking all over town for him in videos, traffic, whatever I could find, witnesses. And he was there the whole time in the middle, right by Greason. That was the confusion. Greason and Phillips were close enough in that first grenade barrage, I guess, that there was confusion. There were two bodies. The EMS was called to get a heart attack victim. They got one and left. And when they got him back to the ambulance, somebody else was banging on the door. We need help with a heart attack. They said, we got him in the truck. And they said, no, there's another guy out here. He had been out there for, 7 minutes already. I'm sure it was already too late. But that was the response. People were desperate. And they said that Phillips never even made it. So in January, I called Taylor Hanson. I was like, Taylor, I found Benjamin Phillips. Finally, we need to do a 5-death article. So we sat down together and wrote, because he's the Ashley Babbitt expert. He was right next to her. I've got Benjamin and I've got Kevin and the Roseanne story. We had Gary McBride helping with that. So, Officer Sicknick, I found the witnesses that took him, tried to offer him treatment. This is the way God works. And these things don't want me in the public telling people all the truth because it makes too much.
Right. Should we check back in to see what's going with the circus?
Yeah, ugly lady. You can't say.
And then also, I don't know if maybe I could share with you a clip. I haven't shown this footage to people. I wonder how many bits of footage there are. I want to say thank you to Jimmy and for people who are watching. Thank you for spending your Thursday.
Yeah. The government keeps talking. They have these 14,000 hours. Well, we have millions of hours because the citizens were filming.
Is that what we're saying?
Well, we've got the proof. The citizens do. We were the ones with our phones. They might have 14,000 hours, but we've got way more evidence and proof than they could ever dream of. Oh, this looks fun. Look at that.
George Washington resigning his commission, voluntarily relinquishing power, handing control of the Continental Army back to Congress.
Oh, my goodness.
This noble act, Washington set the indispensable example of the peaceful transfer of power, what President Reagan called nothing less than a miracle. The obligation to defend this peaceful transfer of power has been honored by every American president.
Except Orange Man.
As Americans, we all have a duty to ensure that what happened on January 6th never happens again, to set aside partisan battles, to stand together to perpetuate and preserve our great republic.
That's so crappy. There's a big racist dude right there. Look at him.
Answers to American people about January 6th.
Racist.
It's important that we remember exactly what took place.
You killed people. I remember.
No tourist.
I don't know enough about him. Is he really racist?
Most of
He's a bad dude. He's a
we
bad
are about
dude.
to play has never been seen.
Bad dude towards his own people? Or what?
No, toward
Right.
anybody, any conservative. Yeah.
This is easy to watch. I want to warn everyone that this video includes violence and strong language.
Let's see it.
Without objection, I include in the record a video presentation of the violence of January 6th.
You're boring. Play the film. Racist.
Proud of your boy! Proud of your boy!
Oh, proud of your boys.
Yeah, just for awareness, be advised, there's probably about 300 Proud Boys. They're marching eastbound in this 400 block of kind of Independence, actually on the mall toward
Look
the.
how dangerous that looks. They're walking. Oh my gosh.
I am not allowed to say what's going to happen today because everyone's just going to have to watch for themselves. But it's going to happen. Something's going to happen.
These are militia?
They're just Proud Boys. They're not militia.
No, but if they're being portrayed as militia.
Oh yeah, and yeah.
Understand side. These are our streets.
20 bucks a picture.
I hope Mike's going to do the right thing. I hope so. I hope so. Because if Mike Pence does the right thing, we win the election. All Vice President Pence has to do is send it back to the states to recertify.
And would that really be
President,
unconstitutional, like Cheney says? Or
Well,
is it
stop
just
it right there. Stop it right there. Here's the deal. You know, when that was all over, we saw what Trump said and we saw what he did. And what he did was he went on to Twitter and he said, "Oh, Mike, you really let us down." Well, let's just back up for just a minute. Doesn't Trump have his phone? Doesn't Trump have his email? Doesn't Trump know where his office is? Don't they talk? Couldn't Trump have gone to him and said, "Mike," and shook him by the shirt? "I am so disappointed in you. What did you do?" This is called theater. This is called theater. And Trump's really good at theater. And Mike was made the instant darling of the left because they thought he threw Trump under the bus. You think it's not all part of the game somehow? I kind of hope it is.
when I
So I'm ready for the
scanned him
fireworks.
energetically, what I was like, okay, he's not like an evil cabal, but he's an actor. And
There's
he's really good because he's playing himself.
There's a whole lot of stuff going on. And I don't know that Pence is a super Christian guy like he says. And like I think
I don't like Pence.
he could be a lot of bad things that I don't know about. And I hear a lot of stories and I try not to make quick judgments or anything. I know there's a lot at play in this. But those people in that committee, listen, they're not going to show the video of Rufio, the other Proud Boy, than Biggs. So they're two leaders, right? Rufio and Biggs, right?
Okay.
Rufio's in a video saying, this lady said, "Are we going to go in the Capitol?" He said, "We're not going in the Capitol. We don't. You can if you want to." They're not going to show that one where he didn't have a plan. They're not going to show Biggs over at the Washington. "What's the plan, man? What are we going to do? We're going to the Capitol. What are we going to do?" He said, "We don't have a plan. We're waiting until tonight when Antifa comes out, because that's when we protect the people. We're just going to go down there and watch and see what's going on, but we don't have a plan." So are they going to play that in the J6 committee? Because that's like these people just having frank conversations with the camera person that comes up and says, "Hey, what's the plan?" "Hey, we don't have a plan, dude."
No, I'm sure the ABC former producer that they hired is that doesn't make the cut.
Yeah,
Too boring.
it's on the floor, isn't it? Yeah, there's so much that's going to be on the floor. So
He's
bad.
Too boring. And I mean, I knew when the impeachment second trial that they were going to use John Sullivan's footage, and the fact that this dude got paid $35,000 for his footage and was with a CNN reporter.
Times two. NBC and CNN. They paid him 70 grand for the footage, but then the FBI took it back. They did.
Yes, they did.
So
were they playing?
they took
Was that the daddy of the Sullivans? Was he playing his two adopted children against one another?
yeah, there's a little family history of some of that stuff going on. It's little ops stuff, one good, one bad kind of yin yang thing. There's some drama, some family stuff going on, and people look into that all the time. But you've got to watch for the diversions and the distractions and really stick with the basics of who are the criminals, what are the crimes, where is the proof, and how do we get our people free?
Jimmy says Yes, Daddy is a general,
Yeah, yeah.
General Sullivan. And so where is John Sullivan today, or his bro?
He's
Where
still
are
around. Some of the guys on our team still, talk with him back and forth occasionally and check with him, post things, back and forth. And I mean, he's still around. They're trying to legitimize him more and let him do some Ukraine type report. I mean, he's not there, but I think he's kind of covering it, trying to give it the illusion that he's
is
real media. But
and is it true that is there any truth that some of the operatives on J6 were from the Ukraine or were trained elsewhere? Is there truth to that?
there were people from every nationality at the event on January 6th. I'm sure there were Ukrainians there. I do not know that they were secret operatives. I've seen the videos too. I know there's a big story about that people are saying this was part of the big picture. Hey, it very well could be. I don't know. I see the whole thing in the Ukraine going on as another big, money pit distraction diversion that's following the crime family of the Bidens and the Clintons and
You haven't
Uranium One and
voted sunflowers for the Ukraine, or
all the same
haven't
stuff.
considered to volunteer. They on NBC they had a campaign early on your own dime,
Yeah,
go and fight for the Ukraine.
yeah,
The
yeah,
vacation you've always wanted. You might die.
yeah. I remember those smart people that wanted to go over to Saudi Arabia and show that they're just human too, and they end up murdered, dead. And you don't want to get over there and get murdered by the Ukrainians, and then them try to say that you're a Russian, and that you were attacking them, because that's there's a bunch of cloak and dagger stuff going on over there. It's really sad to see that, 1% of the world is duped into thinking that, Russia's the bad guy over there when the Ukrainians are killing their own people in the reports that I see, so I don't know where people get their news, but it's nothing you want to watch on MSM. You don't want to watch.
You want to spend $10 a gallon to support the Ukraine? What's wrong with
Yeah, let's really up the ante there and pay them another 60, $70 for their pockets every time we fill up our truck. It's disgusting.
money laundering operation?
But what do you
40,
do?
here's 40 billion. Here's
Yeah,
another.
what's the answer to that? Stop driving? I mean, say, hey, no, I'm not going to drive again until it's $2 a gallon. You can't really work that one out. I mean, they kind of got us over that gas.
This is part of the. It's part
Yeah.
of these are the new lockdowns where
Yeah.
you can't afford to fly or drive anywhere.
Yeah, and
Just
there's shortages.
stay home.
There's more shortages coming on all kinds of stuff,
Absolutely.
and this is where we are until the people get local, and get
Yeah,
active.
let's talk about some solutions.
Mhm.
Go on, hopium.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and so here's some solutions for you. Your city council meetings. Go to your school board meetings. If you still have a kid in school, I'm sorry. If you're not in a position where you can pull them out of public school, do it if you can. If there's any way, if you got an aunt or a sister or somebody that can help, whatever. And they do really good online. We pulled our daughter out the last couple of years and did it at home. It's doable. It's tough, but it's doable. And so, getting your family back away from the system, I think, is first and foremost. The indoctrination is so deep and so hard. And that's the thing people don't understand. Just being a part of it, being around it. My own pastor, I hate to throw him under the bus, but he doesn't see the January 6th thing like I do. I'm one of the lead investigators in the country, and he doesn't want to really talk about it. He's like, I saw what I saw on TV. I saw a guy in a Viking hat lead a bunch of armed citizens into the Capitol, and they acted foolish and tore a bunch of stuff up. And I'm like, so what happens is these people walk by the TV and they don't want to watch the news because that's the news. They're not going to, but they'll look at it and they'll say, okay, now I know everything I need to know. I saw what I saw, and I'm going to go ahead and weigh in on just this little bit of information. And that's horrible. The church right now needs to be standing up for the prisoner, just like the Bible says.
The church. A lot of the churches are subverted and are peddling fear.
Yes. Yeah.
My dad is double jabbed, used to work for Pfizer,
Wow.
and is a big JC fan, Jesus Christ. And he's, last time I checked with him, despite his double vaccination, he was too scared to go to real mass. I mean, my family's in Canada, but
So
it's
sad.
any church that's peddling the face diapers, to me is like just peddling fear. You're peddling fear, you're not standing. What do you think? I'm changing the subject of
Mhm.
when there was one dude, you might know his name, who was able to stream on D Live, and I was like, all of our phones were jammed. We couldn't stream. How did this guy inside the White House? What is that about?
It makes you wonder. Makes you wonder. Some people could get messages. We see a lot of that in the crowd as well with some of the people that were investigating and
Really?
stuff. Yeah, yeah. People were getting messages. I got a message, but I was way out in the grass, and it was like might have gotten 2 messages that day. So it was really hit and miss. But one of the guys in my crew was able to do a Facebook Live, and he put out about the first 22 minutes from the first gate all the way to the front right before they threw the grenades. And then we pick it up from another camera and carry it all the way through to show that the people weren't doing anything wrong. They were just standing there saying, "Hey, USA, USA." And you can see this cop, and he looks at the guy with the grenades, and he looks up at the top captain, and he gives the nod, and he looks back at the guy with the grenades and gives the nod. And that's when they started them. So those people need to be held responsible for murder. You know, even if it's involuntary manslaughter, even if you're just taking orders, the families deserve to know. And, you know, in the beginning, they told all these families, look, it's Trump's fault. And some of these families aren't Trump supporters anyway. They're liberals or whatever, and that's fine. And they believed it hook, line, and sinker that Trump got their family members murdered, and they went on the offensive against Trump, against the people that were there on January 6th, and they got that in their head that that's the way it was. And now as time goes on, some of them, and I can't say which ones, but some of them are seeing what actually happened, and they're not happy about it. They know they've been duped. So there are going to be some really big stories about that coming out soon. And you talk about disruption when these victims, you know, start coming forward saying you murdered. And some of these people that were really injured by the Capitol Police, there was one man in particular, he is going to try to go on the offensive about police brutality. It needs to happen more. And we've actually touched base. We're working on a project right now that goes deep into all the police brutality and the 5 deaths. It should be out in the next 2 weeks or so.
That's the thing also, that these false flags or these psyops, they serve multi-purposes, not to bring up George Floyd, but that it's two-pronged, because this is also an opportunity to crap on the officers. I mean, what happened at Uvalde is also opportunity to just crap on the officers, even though the officers are taking direction and doing what they're told, because people are just doing their job.
That's it. That's it. You can't even be nice. You can't even be nice these days. I saw a meme earlier that said, happy anniversary to George Floyd on 2 years of sobriety. You know, and you can't even be nice anymore and stuff like that. I don't know why. It's so weird.
Well, just as an example of this broken, I would say the system itself is racist. Let's say in Minneapolis, there definitely is a lot of police brutality. There's a lot of corruption.
Yeah.
And all the good officers, I would argue, have left, leaving behind, because now, as far as the cops go, you're expected to supersede your officer and say, F you, move out of the way. I'm going, so people are going to be just not discombobulated. What do I do? I mean, it's all confusion. It's all part of the plot of destabilization. And just one other thing, let's say with George, he's with a friend who's a drug dealer, and the family doesn't meet with him, and he is sober now, doesn't want to go back to selling drugs. Nobody will hire him. They've taken his children away. They've resurrected all of his offenses, charges. So how about his black life? The point is, aside from just virtue signaling, they're not doing their job, and the government is using officers as I mean, look at, maybe you can comment on the FBI and their corruption.
I absolutely can. The FBI was there. We videoed them. We had probably 30 officers put their jackets back on at the end of the day and doing their walkthrough and their synopsis, wherever they go over all their details for the day, get their story straight. There's word that the police were not allowed to write their reports until after they had interviewed with the FBI. And we know that the four guys, the Capitol officers, the four that died, I can tell you right now, are very suspicious. Very, very suspicious. I hate to say that, but I
The
don't.
suicides?
Yeah, the suicides. The
I
four.
was going to ask you, what's the deal with all these suicides? Like, were they coerced? Were they like couldn't live with themselves?
Or
What
did they
is
see
the threat?
something? Did they see something they weren't supposed to see? I mean, some of it doesn't make sense. There's, and we'll get into that at another time. But and then we've got the people, the J6ers that Matthew Perna was the latest victim of that, and the government said, here's your charges. He said, okay, I'll take them. I'll take the deal. And then before he could make it to court for sentencing, they said, look, we're going to add some of those terrorism enhancements to your sentence. We might give you more. And he said, you know what? I'm done. I'm out. I can't do this anymore. He's the fourth that we know of. And I've heard of
they
more.
were staggered. So when did this guy commit suicide?
Matthew Perna was what, 2 months ago, maybe something like that. And it's been about every 3 months ever since. I mean, we had one early on.
Total?
There's 4. Look at stophate.com and go down. There's a 18, or I think it's called a 17 death article. I know of 19 now that we haven't added the other 2. We'll do another story about it soon, but there's 9 I know of, 17 in that article. And it goes through details of how it happened and why and who and the whole 9 yards. This is the things people don't know about. When everybody heard Matthew committed suicide, they're like, oh my gosh, one of the J6. I said, no. He's the 4th one. You people need to, start supporting. They're losing, like you said, hopium. These people are operating on hope. If you send a letter to them, it makes their day. If you give them $10, they can eat out of commissary or give it to their family to pay a bill or try to pay a lawyer. It's a horrible system, and we're seeing the effects of that, but it's all a smear campaign for these good people.
It's horrible.
Come to a town near you. I mean, that's the thing. Everybody needs to get ready for this because we're just the guinea pigs. We're just the guinea pigs. And these people know what they're doing. They've got an agenda. It's that domestic violent extremist. And pretty soon, everybody that goes to a church will be a domestic violent extremist, or everybody that's a veteran will be a domestic violent extremist.
I think I was speaking with our mutual friend, Julie, and she's saying, like, until it happens to you.
Mhm.
And I was saying in 2018, I was defending Roseanne Barr, and someone's like, you're a Roseanne Barr fan? I'm like, I'm a freedom of speech fan.
That's
Roseanne Barr today, you tomorrow. That was 2018.
Yeah.
So until it happens to you, that you wake up and your bank account is closed, or
Gone.
and it's like I might as well be doing like a Facebook Live, like naked, or no one's watching, no one can see me.
No.
So
I show up, I stand up right now, I didn't have pants on or something. Nobody would know the difference. I mean, it'd be like, who cares? Nobody's going to see it. That's so simple. And listen, when we did all the demand free speech stuff, it was like, nobody cares. They said, you know what? You probably said something bad on Twitter and they knocked you out. No, it's not about censorship. We got people can't Uber, can't Lyft, can't get an Airbnb, can't have a bank account.
I'm banned on Airbnb. The Chase closed my bank account. I'm banned on Amazon, on Instacart.
And until it happens to Mike Lindell or Michelle Malkin, gosh, did you see what just happened? This is what we've been telling people for years, and they're like, no, you must be a bad guy. You must have said something wrong. That's what they're doing to us about January 6th. You must have done something wrong. You must have said, look, we're not going to weigh in. We don't want the FBI knocking on our door. And I'm telling you, there is a small group of heroes. You know them from January 6th. They're going to be the leaders when they get out. They're the ones that are doing the right things for the right reasons. God first. I mean, this is what we're seeing. It's a back to the basics, back to God and back together kind of thing. And it's the destruction of this evil empire of a government. There's only one way to do that, and that's with the truth. And I'm just to be a part of that movement that counters evil. I mean, if that's my whole purpose in life, is it not worth it? People, get out there and find your purpose. Make some noise. I was talking to a lady and she said Gideon's army made noise. They didn't have weapons. They made noise, and that's how they defeated the army. We need to make noise. We need all the help we can get to. And
Yeah,
I hope people support your work more, because it's these kind of conversations that really wake people up to what's actually happening. Nobody's going to tell people what I'm going to tell them, because nobody's an event, nobody has the experience, nobody was there. My own employee, my employee got arrested. One of my Stop Hate guys, they talked about him by name in the impeachment trials, by name, when they're talking about Enrique and Coy Griffin and my employee. And I'm like, oh, you are not. And I know these people, and I know it's all lies, and I know what their intentions, and my employee was not there to overthrow a government or to stop a proceeding or to do. He was there with a video camera. That was his purpose. And they threw him in jail, and they left him on house arrest for. I mean, they're ruining people's lives, and the one thing you can't get back is your time. And look, 2 birthdays. One guy I talked to's got a 5-month-old grandchild he's never held in his arms, never seen. 5 months old.
Joseph Grenon has not held his newborn, his child. When I went to 33 Northeast in the detention center in Miami, only 11 people showed up at this prison protest, sadly.
Yeah.
And after the protest, there are people who came on the bench. There's no windows. Imagine like you're in there and you're flashing a mirror to make contact with your family member, and they're come and they sitting on a chair and they're trying to see their flash of a mirror, and they're holding balloons, and inside it's a moldy building. They haven't seen the sun. They're eating shit. They're drinking poisonous tap water,
Yes,
and
they
they're
are.
languishing, and they have so much faith, Grenon. And it's been 2 years, and nobody, I mean, including like me, right? Like I was speaking to Mark every single day, and then I moved, and so life moves on. And as we know, time is collapsing. It's already June, and our time is the most precious thing. I believe that you can't get it back, and that's why I really resent speaking to robots on customer service, because it's like my time. But a lot of people are. No one's home now, so and to make them or invite them to look at details like that. This is why the media is so dangerous. I was looking at statistics, and anyone with a reasonable mind would, let's say, with George Floyd, they would have tried it in a different county, right? So I was looking at all the media coverage, inflammatory languaging, and certain words. They create a perception, and they show you only their footage, whatever the incident may be, whether it's January 6th or George Floyd with Darnell's footage. And then after the fact, they show you other footage, if you're lucky, if you're looking, but you've already formed your perception. And so we're in a club, in a sense, of all the people that were there that morning. I told Zach, and I had no idea what was going to happen, just intuitively. I'm like, today's going to be historic. And it was.
And it was very historic. It was the most patriotic day in American history by far, hands down. I truly believe that. I truly believe that. And that's why we started the Patriots Day petition. Everybody can go sign that. Patriots Day petition, January 6th. Go sign it at stophate.com. Go to stophate.com/
Maybe can we pull it up? Okay.
Yeah, pull it up. Pull it up.
Yeah, we'll end in like 10 minutes around, Dylan.
Yeah, scroll up there. There's Viva. You can support us by getting a Freedom Box with Viva. It's a really good deal. I need to talk to you about that too, get you involved with that. But go right there. So you got Writing History, the documentary. That's the January 6th, the Truth About January 6th documentary just came out. The Jake Lang one. It's really good. But just scroll down. You can see Writing History, the death articles, but you hate. See the SHDOD right there in the middle picture? That is the Department of Defense. Stop Hate Department of Defense. And just scroll up. Just keep scrolling. These are all people's fundraisers. We don't touch the money. These are their personal give, send, go accounts. We don't launder. We don't touch. We don't decide who's worthy. We're not those people. These are theirs. You pick somebody on the list, or pick 10 of them, or pick 100 of them, because you'll see there are plenty to choose from, and support these people and their families. I mean, That's what it really takes is action. People are literally hanging by a thread. They're at the last knot on the rope because the whole weight of the federal government, they've been dragging these people out into deep water, drown them. They don't have good lawyers for the most part. They don't have good support. They don't have money. These are regular people, but they're brave enough to stand and not take a plea and say, I am not going to fold just because you say in this government from Waco and Ruby Ridge and 9/11, you pick something, they decide what the narrative and the truth is. We're here to counter the lies and bring you the real truth and the real people. All these people have names and families. They're not just numbers and stories. They're real. I talk to them. They call. We do interviews from the prison. I talk to their families. I mean, this is the reason I tell people you're going to be upset later when you find out everything they said was true and you didn't support them. Just be proactive. Don't be the mother that doesn't get involved with mad until the kid gets hit by the drunk. Be proactive, not reactive, and say, you know what? I'm going to reach out and support these people because they need it and it's the right thing to do. And it could be me. I could have got sucked into the building by standing too close as well. And then your life's ruined. They platform you, they debank you, they take your time, they take your electronics, they hold your family at gunpoint. It's a horrible thing. And it's all deception, lies to cover the government's murders. Their hit force, their hit squad, the Capitol Police and the Metro Police killed 4 people and contributed to the death of Officer Sicknick. He's our hero as much as the other 4 people are our heroes, not the left's hero. They put him in Arlington National Cemetery. They laid him in state for 3 days saying that we murdered him. Actually, they murdered him. That was one of the ways they could cover it up. When people find this out, they should make sure all those people are removed from office immediately.
I hope so.
Right.
I share with the audience that on January 6th, I lost my processor, and for 6 months, I could not make a penny. Is it just a coincidence when Square is Dorsey? I'm not sure, but these are the ways they come after people. You can go to simplytransformative.com. I want to end with a little clip I want to share with you, if that's okay, David.
Absolutely, please. I want to see some of your stuff.
Dylan, if you go to the yeah, I will have to find it. If you scroll down. Is that it?
Got a good
Oh, I think it's the last one. Trump. Yeah, if we can play that. Oh. Do you have to sign in? It says retry, you're not signed in. That one and maybe another one, but if we can show that one, I think they're short. Yeah, short. I haven't shown this to anybody.
Wow.
Let's look at all the people crying right now from the energy of all people. There's no way in hell that Joe Biden won. He would only wish to have a fraction. It's just what it is, folks. All these people.
It's pretty incredible. Because in the end, Orange Man stood for the Constitution and we the people.
I wonder if you enjoyed his flight anyway.
It's
he stands up like you're more capable.
It's kind of staccato. It's not.
Yeah. Voice activated mics are tough like that.
And I'll just show one more, Dylan. We can go out of that one. It's just I got so lucky to be so close to Trump, and of course I was like, oh, you're behind A bulletproof
You
bra.
kidding me? I'm jealous that you were the Johns. We couldn't even get close to a bathroom that day. Had to make other arrangements.
Oh my goodness, it was so cold, I have to say. Okay, so the other clip is a close up of it's Jason Funes, a close up of his face. If you scroll up, Dylan. Yeah, the third one there.
America, we are under attack, not by these police officers necessarily, but by the deep state. And we are in the middle of a militant, leftist, deep state, globalist operation trying to make Trump supporters look like idiots and that we're violent agitators. With truth and fact, there are people dressed up in MAGA hats and other gear that are pretending to be MAGA supporters, and they're instigating, and they're playing on the emotions of all Trump supporters. Listen to this. Listen to this. These are people that love the cops. We love the police. But if you, Antifa, dressed up as Trump supporters, having causing violence and stirring up violence here at the Capitol steps, and they're playing on the emotions of you and every patriotic American. This is not right. It is not necessarily their fault either. We've just been tear gassed. I reported live from your own Capitol. DC Patriot, follow Real Matt Couch. I'll see you guys soon.
It's amazing.
Do you know Jason? Did I ask you if you know him?
Yeah, and I've seen that video too. Actually, that's amazing.
Yeah,
And
Rudy played that video. Did not ask me for permission or give me
who
credit.
did it?
Rudy played it
Oh,
on
really?
Common Sense on YouTube.
Oh, that's funny.
And then the episode was taken down.
Oh, yeah.
And ironically, he also played a clip that Zach Voorhees had filmed. Although Zach, it was just of a witness of someone who observed. He wasn't close as I was.
Well,
but-
listen, I want to tell your followers, listeners, your audience here, if y'all have any other evidence, any witness testimony that you saw something, or you got a picture of something, or you got a video of something, reach out to me at tips@stophate.com, tips@stophate.com. Send me what you got, or reach out to me. We'll arrange how we can get it from you, whatever it is. We're still breaking stories. We're still doing stuff. We've got a lot of good information. It's not that we hold back. We just find more. God keeps bringing us the details, but we've got to do something to stand against these liars. The FBI keeps trying to play dumb, but we're not playing. They are pretty dumb, but they're evil. They're not working with our best interest in heart. They're working against us. They're actually using the Patriot Act itself against Americans. And people really need to stand up and support and share videos. They took my YouTube channel down that had writing history, and we had to make another. You know how we're on our 10th channel.
I think
whatever,
I might
but
have gone down right now. Did I lose YouTube, Dylan?
there's no telling. If I'm on here, it's possible.
Well, if I'm on here,
Well,
sure.
we're not saying they are.
Sorry?
I think you're fine.
I'm
Good.
fine. Okay. Well,
For now.
we can conclude, and thank you, David Sumrall, for your time and devotion and love of God. And
Oh, yeah.
please check out stophate.com. Please share this video. And so where can we find you other than stophate.com? Do you have anything else you want to share?
Yeah, we do all the social media stuff that we can that we're not banned on. You can just go to stophate.com and look at the follow us link, and you can find all our different social media, from Truth and BitChute and all the different things that we can do. And just stophate.com. We have a whole team. We've got a couple of writers and editors and video editors and videographers and some guys that work the street and do events and stuff. And, I'm a carpenter. I try to support these guys and pay their way, as much as I can. And I get a little bit of help from people, and we're able to do more. But, I would love to ask for support, but I want to direct people to you for support.
Oh, no, by all means, no. please ask. I've asked for support. Please go ahead and ask for support as well. Yeah, please. Thank you. Oh, are we frozen? Did we
Did I
lose?
freeze? Did I freeze?
You did freeze, David.
Oh my gosh. And I'm even plugged in. See, it's weird. But listen, the reason I say that, you're kind enough to bring me on here. I'm just trying to get exposure for the Department of Defense, for all those people. Of course, I want to support my team. If people can help with that, it's stophate.com/help. But for you bringing me on here, honestly, that's so important, because this is information that will change things for people.
Thank you, David. It's my pleasure and honor. And if you want to help me, I want to manifest my George Floyd documentary. If anyone wants to help, just know they're letting Candace Owens' trailer on YouTube with no problems. And mine that gained traction is a kick-ass trailer they've taken down. And even though I've raised $1 million to make an award-winning film that's been seen all over the world and translated in 13 languages, I cannot even raise $15,000 just to bring this movie. So if you want to support me, please go to Give, Send, Go and support this colossal project to bring this to the world. I don't know if Candace has taken some of my information. I have no idea. I don't know.
Well, that happens a lot. It happens a lot. It happens to me a lot. This January 6th thing especially, people just, hey, I broke that story.
Co-opt your stuff.
Yeah.
Take the credit or gatekeep, because they don't want the truth. And we know that there's a lot of truth mixed with lies, and you need discernment, and you need to trust people who are like David, who's keeping track of details, because that's where the devil lies, folks.
That's right. Well, God bless you for having me on. I really appreciate doing this. I look forward to next time, and I want to make sure that film you have on your list gets done real soon.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yes, please. Thank you, Jeremiah and Jim and Doyle, and thank you, Dylan and Brooke and everyone who's watching and supporting. God bless you, and be grateful. Life